Okay, so today we're going to do the simple birthday cake. And first thing you need to do when you're doing a cake is you need to write on it, because that's the most important sentiment about the cake is the writing. You know, nobody really cares that much about flowers or anything else, but you need to write first. Make sure that you can spell words like celebration or congratulations, anniversary. Guys, if you cannot write straight, there is nothing that says you cannot put yourself just a little bitty line that to keep your writing straight. So today I'm just going to write happy birthday on the cake. I'm going to use a number 3 tip. I have all my tips and bags ready to go before I start decorating the cake. You always want to birth the bag just a little bit before you start writing. So we're going to start with happy birthday. I do a series of printing in cursive. I don't like to overpipe on a cake. Like when you're doing a P, sometimes you end up overpiping a couple of times on the letters. So I'm just going to start writing. And I always kind of start off with a kind of a fancy large letter, and then the rest of it's a little bit more printing. You notice that I am steadying my hand with my left finger. I always like to kind of put little curly cues on my H, my G's, Z's, that type stuff. And the B, once again, will be kind of fancy looking. Guys, practice it on a practice board before you start to put it on the cake. If you do mess up once it goes onto the cake, your best bet is to just simply take the cake, throw it in the freezer for a few minutes, and then take a toothpick to get rid of anything that you don't like. That'll help get most of the writing off. You did notice that I was working a little bit above the cake itself because I don't want it to actually be stuck or ground into the cake. Okay, so once I have birthday, if I was going to put a name, I would have centered the word birthday in between happy and the name. Always ask how somebody spells their name. I don't care if it's Mary, M-A-R-Y. They're going to look at you like you've absolutely lost your mind. But you're better off to do that than to misspell Mary. There's going to be somebody out there that spells it M-E-R-Y, M-E-R-I. So kind of keep that in mind. So now we're going to do the vines for our sprays. I've got a number 3 for that also. And don't worry about it if it breaks when you're doing your lines. You do notice I'm slightly above the work or slightly above the cake because I want to have nice rounded lines. Don't get too close to the edge of the cake because remember, you want to put a border on it. Again, if you do have a couple of breaks in your lines, you're going to throw leaves over the top of it. Nobody's ever going to see it, so it's no big deal. Don't ever stick your finger in your mouth once you have done the finished and you've wiped the end of the tip with your finger. Okay, now I'm going to do the rosebud, and we're going to come over here to, I've got a little piece of parchment paper stuck down to the table with a little bit of masking tape. So with the large end of the tip facing down and the small end going up toward the sky, I'm going to be slightly above the work, maybe 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to start piping, and I'm going to continue to pipe while I come up, I come back down. I'm going to go to the left, but I'm not going to go up as high, and then I'm going to come over to the right. Notice that the center is much higher than the left and the right side. I like this Rosebud a little bit better than I like the way that some of the other places teach it. I think it looks a little bit more like a Rosebud. I've been taught you kind of cup it and then come back through and cup that again. And I just, you know, once a calyx is on it, it looks a little bit like a Rosebud, but I actually prefer this, and I have a little bit better flow when I'm doing it. So I'm just going to come through, and I'm going to put that on my cake. Try not to pipe over the top of your writing. Again, be mindful of the edge of your cake because we are going to put a border on it. Make sure that you look at your score sheet and you do exactly the number you have to do. You can do more, but if there's not the number I asked for, you're going to lose points. So up, over to the left, and over to the right. Up, over to the left, and over the right. I'm piping with slight pressure the entire time. Okay, so once I've gotten that done, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to change from that number 3 tip to a 352 because we're going to do some leaves. Let's look at the practice board real quick. You want to have the solid portion of the tip facing toward the sky. When I'm holding the bag, I have my fingers wrapped around the bag, and my thumb, the seam of the bag is going to meet the base of my thumb. And here's the solid portion. I'm going to start piping, pipe a little bit, stop, and pull away. The pull away with slight pressure or no pressure is what's going to give you the point on your leaf. So now I'm going to put my leaves on, and I'm going to start by putting some calyx around the outside of my rosebuds. I'm going to do one side, and then I'm going to come over and I'm going to do the other side. I don't want to twist my cake back and forth. It's a great way to make yourself dizzy, and I'm dizzy enough without any help. So once I get all my calyxes on, and if you want, you can do your calyxes with the 349, which is the smaller, or the smaller version of this leaf tip. Once I get all my calyxes on, I'm just going to kind of come through, and I'm going to pipe random leaves. You can never have too many leaves. Well, you can, but you notice that when I put the leaves on the stems, I don't put the leaves right across, one leaf right across from the other. I kind of stagger it just a little bit to give it just a little bit more fullness. Okay, so I'm done that. don't drive yourself crazy when you're icing your cake. Once again, you know, you're going to put a border on this cake, so if you've got a little ridge here, don't worry about it too much. Okay, so now I'm going to come through and I'm going to put some Lilies of the Valley, and I'm going to do them in yellow. I'm going to use the 79 tip. It's a little bit bigger than... What?
I'm just trying to...
It's a little bit bigger than the 81. I want to have the cup down toward the bottom, but you notice it kind of has a crescent shape to it. So I've got the bottom kind of lined up with the base of the seam, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pipe a little bit out. I'm going to kind of let it cup over, and then I'm going to, well,
do that one more time.
I'm going to pipe just a little bit out, stop piping, and then kind of pull away. I just want a little bitty cup on top. So I'm going to move over to the cake, and I'm just going to randomly put these on the cake. I will tell you, it's easier to pipe the Lily of the Valley onto a cake than it is on a piece of paper or a piece of plastic, because the icing on your cake's a little tacky and will kind of hold on to it a little bit better. And it's just a little accent, so don't go crazy. I think I have 6 or 7 there. If it doesn't want to let go, you can get in there and help it. If it looks really bad, just pipe another one right on top of it. It's fine. Guys, if your icing's too stiff, the Lily of the Valley doesn't work very well, and if it's too loose, you won't have a little open cup. So be careful about the consistency of your icing. I've been known to come back through my Lilies of the Valley and put a little dollop or a little dot of icing on the inside of them. Since I don't have a white bag, I'm not going to do that today. Now we're going to do the bottom border on the cake, and we're going to do just a shell border, and I'm going to do that with a 21. So you always want to start in the back of your cake, that way you can get a little practice before you get to the front. A shell, when you're doing a shell, is you want to start kind of straight up and down. You're going to 1, 2, 3 as you're kind of twisting the tip just a little bit, ease off the pressure, and you want to drag a tail. 1, 2, 3, ease off the pressure, drag your tail. 1, 2, 3, ease off your pressure, drag your tail. 1, 2, 3, ease off the pressure, drag the tail. I do not want to see it as a continuous motion. They do that in the grocery store. And I don't want to see just little bitty beads. I want to see the actual shell with the tail. So here I am. I'm going to start in the back of the cake. And you notice I kind of maneuver it to where it's at a little bit of an angle right there where the board and the cake meet. 1, 2, 3, pull the tail. 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 Make sure that you are piping right on top of that tail. You want to cover it up. but you don't want to get it so close that it looks like a bead. As you're emptying the bag, make sure that you're rolling it down. It's going to stay in the bag a little bit easier. Helps with your pressure. If you're left-handed, you're going to pipe right to left as opposed to the left to right. Try to make sure that you're the same size each and every time. A lot of this is practice, but I also count in my head to keep my sizing right. Okay, so now we're going to pipe a little bit on the side of the cake. I like piping on the side of the cake. It covers any imperfections in the icing job. And I'm going to just simply pipe a little bit of a line on here because I'm going to do some clusters of rosebuds. And I believe I've told you you have to do 6 of them. So a way to make sure that you have these lined up is to take a toothpick and put it in the top of your cake and then put another one directly across from it, and then you can kind of eyeball where these will go. I'm only asking for 6, but if you want to and it's easier for you, you can place these right across from each other and then right across from each other again. That'll help placement of your clusters. I'm going to take my number 3 tip once again. Make sure you clean your tip off. I'm going to pipe just a little. It's going to kind of look almost like a Z. Try to keep it in the center. I like to pipe the bottom border first because it really does help with the placement for the center. So I've got my little vinage done all the way around, and I'm going to come back through with my 104. And you notice that I did put the cake up on a bucket because I don't want to have to break my back trying to get this on. So now I'm just going to simply do a rosebud in the center of that Z.
It's going to, yeah.
Okay.
Just keep going.
So now I'm going to come back through and I'm going to do the other side. Guys, you're going to get to the point that you're going to feel comfortable about piping on the side of the cake, that you don't need a placeholder anymore. I'm going to lift this up. Notice I'm lifting it by the base and not the top. I'm going to move that bucket out of the way. Now I'm going to do my bows, and I'm going to do my bows, I believe, out of yellow. And I'm going to do those with a 104. That's that rose tip once again. Once again, I still want the large end running with the seam, and I've got the small end facing toward the sky. The Bow is just simply a figure 8. Stop piping and then pull your streamers. Figure 8, stop piping and pull your streamers. Okay? So I'm just going to put that at the bottom of each one of my sprays. If you feel like maybe you're too close to the edge with your spray, you might want to do your border first. That way the streamer can actually lay across the border, because if somebody had put a bow on this cake, it would lay across the streamer, not up underneath it, and certainly not crowded by it. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to use the number 16, and I'm going to do what they call the E motion. And there's a couple of ways you can do the E motion. You can do the E motion where, I'm going to burp my bag just a little bit, where it's just a series of cursive E's, one right on top of the other. Make sure that there's a little bit of room, that way you can see the E itself. Another way you can do it is you can do your E, skip one, do your E, skip one, and that gives it a little bit different look. Again, I'm going to start in the back of the cake, and I'm going to go all the way around. It's an optical illusion, guys. It's not actually on the edge of the cake. It is on the cake. Okay? If you pipe your border on the edge of the cake, it gets a little warm, it's going to fall off. So you want to be actually on the cake itself. And I'm just going round and round, series of E's. When my hand gets tired or I need to rotate the turntable, I'm going to pull a tail, and I'm going to start right back on that tail and the next one. And unless you're really looking really hard, you can't tell where one stopped and the other one started. All the way around. Continue around. We're almost there. I know you're looking at me like, lady, you got halfway around the cake to go. We're almost there. Okay, so now I'm going to put this last ribbon on my cake. Again, it's a figure 8. The small end of the tip facing toward the sky, all the way around, and there's our cake.
Hold up.
Okay? Easy breezy.